Hello, I'm David Harris, CEO of AJC, and I'm speaking to you from the center of Vienna, a beautiful little square called Brahmsplatz, very specifically in front of building number 3, because it was through the doors of this building in the 1970s and 80s that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jews from the former Soviet Union entered to begin a new life. They were Jews who came from Moscow and Leningrad. They came from Vilnius and Riga. They came from Minsk and Pinsk and Babruisk, from Odessa, from Kiev, from Dnipropetrovsk, from Berdichev, from Mukachevo. They came from Chernovtsi and Kishinev. They came from Yerevan and Baku and Tbilisi and Sukhumi. They came from Samarkand, from Tashkent, from Bukhara. They came from Dushanbe. They came from Khabarovsk. They came from Birobidzhan. They came from across the length and breadth of the Soviet Union with one goal: to leave the tyranny and to start a new life. They came here alone. They came here in small families and large families. They came here with the elderly, with veterans of the Second World War, with widows of the Second World War, with the disabled, with small children. They came with virtually nothing except hope. The Soviet Union had largely stripped them of whatever they had left before they emigrated, with humiliating experiences, whether at train stations or airports, prior to leaving the Soviet Union. By the time they came here, they were exhausted, they were shell-shocked, they were disoriented. But from the moment they arrived in the West, they were met by the Jewish world. If they wanted to go to Israel, the Jewish Agency was there to move them as quickly as possible to start their new lives in the Jewish state. If they wanted to go to the United States or Canada or other places in Europe and North America, they came right here, where they were met up on that second floor by the staff of the Joint Distribution Committee and HIAS. They were people who had never been in the West before. In very few cases had they ever left the Soviet Union. They had been subjected to Soviet propaganda for years, for a lifetime, that this was the decadent West that was coming apart. And yet when they came here and they began to walk the streets and they saw the shops and they saw the abundance of food and they saw the wealth, they couldn't believe it. In fact, for many, as the children of that generation, they saw a banana for the very first time here in Vienna. So they walked through those doors in order to get registered, to announce who they were, where they were from. The Joint provided them with medical care when needed, with housing. HIAS provided them with the logistical assistance to move them from here onto Rome for processing, on to the United States and Canada and elsewhere. Very few were religious. Most had been stripped of their Jewish identity by Soviet cultural genocide, but they came as Jews, and they were going to live their future as Jews in free societies. Unfortunately, there's no plaque or inscription on this building. There should be. And the plaque should read, "Through these doors walked hundreds of thousands of Jews who had fled Soviet tyranny and anti-Semitism to start new lives in the West." And one other thing, not only did the Jewish world welcome them and escort them throughout this emotional, difficult journey, but Austria offered them hospitality. Austrian special police units stood in front of this building and wherever else they were because there had been terrorist attacks. We received upstairs letter bombs postmarked from Asia that fortunately were caught before they could explode. One of the trains carrying Jews from the Soviet Union was hijacked by Palestinian terrorists in Czechoslovakia. The threats were real, the dangers were real, but still they came and still we worked. I had the privilege of working here with my then girlfriend and now wife, as I had the privilege of working in Rome, the next stop. This is a modern-day exodus of biblical proportions. In every Passover, I submit that in addition to remembering the exodus of Jews from Egypt, we should remember the exodus of Jews from the Soviet Union. And this, their very first stop, Vienna. This building, Brahmsplatz number 3. Goodbye from Vienna, Austria.